This is Marilyn Bo, Program Officer in the Secretariat of the Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm Conventions. I hope you can hear me well. I will be the presenter of today's webinar on preparations for the online segment of the BRS Cups that is coming up at the end of the month. And I would like to start now, saying that it's 4 p.m. Geneva time, because I'm sure you all are very interested in the presentation, and also we want to have a session with questions and answers at the end. So if you allow me, I would like to start the presentation by the Secretariat now. So yes, so as you have heard by now, the conditions were not met, let's say, for the face-to-face meetings of the conferences of the parties as originally planned over 2 weeks at the end of July of this year, because of the exceptional circumstances of the COVID-19 pandemic. So taking into account this situation and the also possible formats that could be explored, the Bureau at the end of February, all three decided, after extensive consultations, decided to organize the forthcoming meetings of the COPs in 2 segments. There would be a first segment, which would be online over 5 days from the 26th to the 30th of July of this year. And then this would be followed by a second face-to-face segment, which would take place over 2 weeks in 2022. And the bureaus have tentatively scheduled this segment to take place in June 2022 in Geneva. So following the agreement by the 3 COP bureaus, then they also decided to kind of discuss exactly which segment would be looking at. So on the slide you have information about the provisional agendas of the COPs. So you have the 3 dog symbols of the agendas. So what is important to know about is that the 2 segments are part of the same meetings. This is the reason why the provisional agendas of the COPs cover the 2 segments. So you will find on the provisional agendas of the COPs agenda items that will be for consideration by the COPs during the online segment, but also that would be deferred to the face-to-face segment. So the bureaus, when deciding on the format of the forthcoming meetings of the COPs, they have also identified which agenda items would be considered during the online segment. So they indeed also identified and also consulted widely with the regions on those items which would be considered as time sensitive, essential, for which decision making needed to be made in 2022, and for those where decision making could be deferred to 2022. Sorry, so those items that needed to be decided in 2021. Sorry. So those items are therefore called prioritized agenda items, and they would be the items that would be expected to be considered by the COPs during the online segment. And at their face-to-face segment, sorry, the COPs would be expected to consider all the items of their agendas that were not considered or concluded during the online segment and were therefore deferred to the face-to-face segment. So we have indeed this arrangement agreement made by the bureaus regarding the organization of work of the 2 segments of the COPs meetings. Now on this slide, you find the details of those prioritized items that are for the consideration of the COPs during the online segment. So that's also in line with the agreements by the bureaus. The first of those prioritized items relates to the program of work and budget of the conventions. As the current program of work and budget ends on the 31st of December of this year, 2021, it was indeed time sensitive for the COPs to adopt a program of work and budget for at least 2022 to ensure the continuity of the activities under the conventions and that of the Secretariat as well. So for this reason, the bureaus agreed that items of the agendas that pertain to program of work and budget would be considered during the online segment. And because of the online nature of the forthcoming meetings in July, the bureaus recommended to the Secretariat that an interim budget for one of the 2 years of the biennium would be prepared for the consideration of the COPs at the online segment. So an interim budget for 2022 would be really what would be considered by the COPs. Also, because of the online nature of the forthcoming negotiations, the bureaus advised that one single scenario would be prepared for such an interim budget for 2022. So this will be what the COPs would have in front of them in July, in the 3 weeks to come, under the agenda item on program of work and budget. The second prioritized agenda item pertain to elections. So here, those are specific items to the Rotterdam and the Stockholm Conventions. There are no forthcoming elections for Basel during the online segment. So under elections under Stockholm and Rotterdam, it would be for each COP to respectively elect the Stockholm Convention effectiveness evaluation committee members. And for Rotterdam, it would be to elect the compliance committee members. And for both COPs also, they would be looking at agreeing on extending the terms of office of CRC and POPROC members, whose term of offices would however expire on the 30 April 2022 and the 4th of May 2022. And that would be expired until the end of the COPs, meaning until the end of the face-to-face segment in 2022. So elections of officers is the second prioritized agenda items. Then the third set of prioritized items for the online segment is the date and venue of the face-to-face segment of the COPs in 2022. There is indeed a need for the COPs to agree on when and where the second part of the meetings will take place. So a proposal has been made in consultation with the bureaus, and the COPs will then be deciding on that at the forthcoming meetings in July. And then the fourth prioritized item for the consideration of the online segment is a specific item to the Stockholm COP10 and pertains to the financial mechanism, whereby the Stockholm COP10 is expected to adopt a process-oriented decision, whereby reports that have been prepared intersessionally would be forwarded to the GEF for it to take this into account under the current GEF replenishment negotiations, pending a final decision on this matter by the COP that it would take during the face-to-face segment in 2022. So in a nutshell, those are the prioritized items that would be considered by the COPs in 3 weeks' time. And on the next slide, you see the tentative schedule of work of the online segment that includes indeed all the prioritized items that have been agreed by the bureaus. This tentative schedule of work has also been agreed by the bureaus last February. So as mentioned before, we are looking at COPs meetings of 5-day duration, all conducted online. So from the Monday to the 26th of July to the Friday, 30th of July, the sessions of the meetings will take place from 1 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. on each day. So every day we are looking at this time frame of 4-hour meeting. It's all expressed in Geneva local time UTC +2. So from what you can see on the schedule, what is being planned at the moment is 2 days of plenary. First day of plenary would be on Monday, 26th of July. And last day of the meetings will also be a plenary session. So plenary sessions would be conducted in the 6 UN languages, with simultaneous interpretations. And in between those 2 days of plenaries, there would be then 3 days of contact group discussions. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Indeed, it is expected that the COPs on the Monday, when looking at the program of work and budget items, decides that further discussions on program of work and budget are needed, and therefore that the COPs will establish a contact group that would meet over those 3 days. So if we maybe just take a look quickly at how the sessions will run over the week, we can maybe start with the Monday, where it's very similar to a face-to-face meetings here. So there would be a sequential opening of each meeting by the COP presidents. Then there would be an opening, where we would expect to hear opening remarks from the Deputy Executive Director of UNEP, of the Director of FAO. We would also hear Executive Secretaries of the conventions and of the COP presidents. Then there would be opportunities for opening statements from regional groups. Because of time constraints and also because of the scope of the online segment, it is expected that regional group statements would no longer be than 3 minutes in duration. And after opening of the meetings, then each COP would be adopting its provisional agenda for the meeting. And after this, they would be expected to have a joint session of the COPs, where the COPs would then adopt their organization of work as laid out in the scenario note and also in the present tentative schedule of work. Once the COPs would have approved their organization of work, then the Stockholm and the Rotterdam COPs will turn their attention to elections. So the Secretariat will indeed introduce the matter. And then we'll explain that, the nominated candidates per region would need to be submitted to the Secretariat no later than Thursday, 1 p.m. So that the Secretariat can prepare the package of information necessary for the elections to take place on the Friday. So this information of the deadline for election packages is actually built already in the schedule for the information of regions. After the election agenda item, there will be credentials, where the COPs would be informed of the approach agreed by the bureaus for credentials, and of the fact also that credentials should be submitted no later than the Tuesday 6 p.m. So that the Secretariat can prepare the reports on credential that would then be examined by the bureaus and then further on Friday adopted by the COPs. And then the COPs will turn their attention to other prioritized items, like the program of work and budget, venue and date of the face-to-face segment of the COPs. And finally, at the end of the Monday plenary session, it is expected that there would be a Stockholm Convention specific session taking up the prioritized item on financial resources and mechanisms. So that would be for the Monday plenary session, as we said before, during which the COPs are expected to establish a joint contact group on program of work and budget that would run for 3 days on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, from 1 p.m. to 5:30 every day. Something that I forgot to mention is that there would be a half an hour break after 2 hours of sessions. On Interprefy, on the plenary, that is a requirement for the shift of interpreters, but that break would also be respected also for the contact group on budget. The contact group on budget is run in English only as per practice, and it's also a contact group that is open to parties only. On the Friday, so there would be a sequence of convention-specific and joint sessions of the COPs, but it would be expected that the COPs would hear reports of the contact group on budget, would also adopt their reports on credentials and adopt their decision on program of work and budget, including the interim program for 2022, and will adopt also any outstanding decisions that would not have been adopted on the Monday. It is expected that some decisions would be already adopted on the Monday in plenary. Then there would be also the traditional adoption of the meeting report. That would be an item also that will be taken up on Monday. That will be the report of the session of the Monday. And then at the end, the COPs would be adjourned by each COP president with the expectation that they will be reconvened at the dates and the venue that would be agreed during the online segment. On this slide, you have the documents that are for the consideration at the COP by the COPs during the online segment. So they are the documents for the normal running of the meetings, plus the documents that are prepared on the specific agenda, prioritized agenda items. So you have obviously provisional agenda, notated agenda, the scenario notes, which is specific to the online segment, the tentative schedule of work, which is also specific to the online segment. So those two documents would obviously be revised for the face-to-face in 2022. And then you have on the slide all the documents that are specific to the prioritized agenda items. For interim budget, you have 3 documents. The main working document that also contains the draft decisions, or the 3 harmonized draft decisions. You have the detailed budget tables, which are contained in the INF and which was revised 2 weeks ago. So it's important perhaps to take a look at it again. There is also an information document that was prepared at the request of the bureaus, which lays out modalities for the continuation of the intersessional work between the 2 segments. So it's also an interesting document, important document to consult in advance of the meetings. In particular, it proposed some extended deadlines for parties and observers to continue to contribute to the processes and products that are going to be considered by the face-to-face segment of the COPs. On elections, you have a joint document to Stockholm and Rotterdam, which also contains the draft decision for the consideration of the COPs, as well as an overview table of the elections to be taking place during the online segment. On financial mechanism, you have one working document with the proposed process-oriented decision for the consideration by the Stockholm COP, and then venue and dates of the face-to-face segment has also its own document with the proposed draft decision for the adoption by the COPs. As you might have noticed already, because the meetings, the COPs meetings really start on the 26th of July during the online segment. So as per the rules of procedure, working documents of all the agenda items had to be prepared. So currently on the websites, you have working documents for all agenda items, and including for those that will be only considered during the face-to-face segment in 2022. Now I would like to provide you with more practical information for the online segment, noting that deadlines for registrations have passed now. However, I understand you can still register at this point in time as soon as possible. There is a particular situation with nominations. So parties and observers are able to nominate representatives for either the online segment only or for both segments. They have this possibility too. If they decide to nominate representatives for both segments, sorry, for the meetings, then they would be able to do an update to their delegations later on when we get closer to the face-to-face segment of the meetings. For parties, the nomination procedure is the same as for normal face-to-face meetings. The official nomination letter has to be transmitted through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the permanent mission in Geneva. Bodies or agencies that are not previously admitted as observers to meetings of the COPs before registering would need to complete this procedure, the admission procedure, before being able to register. So all of this information is available on the website. Because given that the plenary session is interpreted into the 6 UN languages, and for that we need to use specific meeting platforms like Interprefy. There is some limitation in the number of the delegates that can actually take the floor, ask and take the floor. So as you may have seen from the invitation letters, we are inviting each delegation to nominate one spokesperson per delegation, and that person would be able to take the floor, request and take the floor, while the other members of the delegation would only be able to listen to the meeting through a live link, viewers link. As per the UNEP and the BRS Secretariat policies, we will be providing financial support up to 3 participants per eligible parties to help them to defray their communication costs for their participation in the online segment. And also for the, we will soon be, actually this week, be sending you the confirmation letters with additional information on how the connection to the meetings will take place. So this will be coming this week, and this will also be followed by an email also explaining a little bit more how to connect and yes, be able to connect to the meetings. On credentials, so the approach that was agreed by the Bureau is that original as well as copies of credentials in good orders, including electronic copies, are accepted, with the understanding that the original will be submitted as soon as possible. So you might have seen already this in the invitation letter, but the Secretariat was asking for paper copies of or paper credentials to be submitted before the 30th of June, but that after this deadline of 30th of June, all credentials would need to be submitted by electronic copies by email, because as you know, we are still under specific working conditions here in Geneva in the Secretariat. Most of us are home working, so we are not able really to go to the office so often. So as of the 31st of June, we would welcome the submission of credentials, electronic copies of credentials by email. And parties can do so until the Tuesday, 27th of July, 6 p.m. Similar to the registrations, parties can submit credentials for the online segment only or for both segments. If they decide to issue their credentials for both segments, they will have an opportunity later on to provide an update to their credentials for the face-to-face segment. And you have on the slide the contact person in the Secretariat for issues related to credentials. That slide is also intends to provide you with additional information on the more practical organizational aspect of the meetings. As said before, we would be using 2 meeting platforms. The first one is Interprefy for the plenary sessions, and there would be a restriction on the number of people from your delegations to take the floor. That would be to 1 person per delegation. If that person experiences connectivity challenges, there would be a possibility for that person to ask for somebody else from the delegation to take the spokesperson seat. For that, you just need to contact the technical support of the secretariat, and we would be able to make that change. Otherwise, there would be also the possibility for that person to send comments or interventions through the chat. So there would be also the chat function activated and available for that person. If there are other more difficult connectivity issues, it would always be possible to contact the secretariat by the phone. We will have a telephonic support for the whole meeting, for the plenary and the contact group sessions. For the contact group, which would be run in English only, and would be for parties only, we don't have the restriction of the number of people of the delegations to take the floor. So because it's in English only, we don't have such a limitation. So it would be also possible for anybody from the delegation to send comments or interventions through the chat in case of connectivity issues. The access to the meetings will be done through a secured intranet, as it was done for the OAWG 12 and the POPROC 16 for those that participated in those most recent meetings. So we would invite all the participants to connect to an intranet that would be password protected and with a unique connection. And from the intranet, you will be able to find the buttons to the meetings, so the plenary as well as the contact group, as well as other meetings that will also be taking place. For example, not meetings, but technical trials, or if you plan also on having regional group meetings, we will also have those meetings available from your intranet access. The intranet will also provide the whole range of information that is necessary for you to participate in the meetings. We will have the meeting documents. We will have also, if there are any conference room papers, there will be also order of the day. And for those that will be participating in the contact group on budget, there will be also a specific page that will be available to them where the outcomes or interim outcomes of the contact group will be posted. With regard to interventions, as said before, for the openings, regional group statements are limited to 3 minutes because of the time constraints we have. We only have 4 hours per day, so we would invite indeed the regional groups to limit their statements to 3 minutes. As per other interventions on more specific agenda items, we would also encourage concise statements or interventions as much as possible to 2 minutes. If you have longer interventions, we can always post them on the intranet and make them available to all the other participants. In general, because of the online setting of the meetings, we encourage any delegations that take the floor and intervene to share their interventions in written, so that we can also make it available on the intranet, and participants to the meeting can also have access to them at any time. CRPs are available during the meetings and can be submitted to the traditional email address. There are other meetings also taking place during the meetings, such as bureau meetings. So the bureaus would be meeting almost every day before the start of the meetings. And then also, as said before, regional groups also have an opportunity to meet either before or after the formal sessions. So the Secretariat will be able to assist them to host their meetings. So we have already received a number of requests from certain regions on that, and we welcome others. There would be also online side events that will be conducted in the afternoon and evenings. The program of the side events would be made available on the meeting webpage very soon. And in general, yes, we will be posting, the traditional order of the day with all the meetings that take place during the day. So that will all be mentioned on the intranet. So I'm almost at the end of my presentation. Yes, so this is regarding preparations. So because of the online format too, it was very important for the bureaus that we have preparations for the meetings. So online regional preparatory meetings were conducted earlier this year in Africa, Asia Pacific, Eastern Europe, Latin America, and the Caribbean. You have the dates here on the slides. At the request of the COP presidents, a technical briefing on the budget documents was also organized 10 days ago. So that was to the for the invitation of parties and preparation indeed for the contact group discussions in particular. And this week we are conducting global webinars open to all on preparations for the COPs. We wish also to flag that there would be technical trials or training sessions for you to test, your connection, your equipment. We would have 8 of those training sessions in total. Because we are using 2 platforms, we will ensure that we have training sessions on the 2 platforms. So those would be planned the week before the COP, so the Wednesday 21st of July and Thursday 22nd of July, in the morning and the afternoon, so from 10 to 12, and then in the afternoon 3 to 5 p.m. Geneva time. So during those time slots, you will be able to test the 2 platforms so that you don't have to come back to this. You do it in one go, and we really encourage you to test the two platforms in the same conditions as you will be during the days of the meetings. All right, and then yes, on the slide you also see the link, the general URL to the meeting platform where you have all the information for the meetings, and more is to come also in the coming days. This is my last slide, and this is to look forward also to the face-to-face segment of the COPs. Yes, just to say that there was this proposal. There is a proposal of the dates from the 6th to the 17th of June 2022. And the venue is Geneva, Switzerland. So this proposal for dates and venue of the face-to-face segment is now for consideration by the COPs. And this we hope will be agreeable. We were happy to be able to secure the CICG where we hold our face-to-face meetings of the COPs. So that is a good news. We wanted also to inform you that arrangements and in line with the Bureau also decisions is like the arrangements for the high-level segment would be further considered after the online segment. And for the second part of the meetings, the same theme will prevail, will remain. It would be global agreements for a healthy planet, sound management of chemicals and waste. So this was my last slide. I hope I wasn't too long, and I would like to thank you very much for your attention. And with that, I would like now to open the floor for questions.